Good morning. We're gonna go get some coffee right over here. How convenient is that? No, we're gonna eat it later. We are zeroing here today at Harpers Ferry because with such a historic town, how can you just rush right through it? So we're gonna go see what their museums have to offer. Check this out. These stairs right here are part of the AT. They're hand carved right out of the stone here. They're a little wonky because of it. Came to the place and time first to try to get a good orientation, especially with the film. That's not running. You know, all the national park closures of all their historical stuff, the films and the exhibits and the ranger talks, it's really bumming me out. Robert Harper is who this town is named for. And he was operating a ferry, Harpers Ferry, starting in 1747. And here is a depiction of that original ferry.
I've never heard of that. There's gunpowder and tacky.
Strangers who have no proper business here and who cannot give a satisfactory account of themselves will at once be arrested. Ah, beautiful children wear corsets. Wonderful. Start them young, I guess. Harper's Ferry started booming due to industrialization and the railroad. I knew that they stored weapons here, but I never knew that they manufactured them here. George Washington first started the whole manufacturing of all the ammunition here. Not the ammunition, the guns. Then John Brown came here with less than 20 men. He seized the armory, and what he was gonna do is give all of the African American people guns and ammunition, and they were gonna go from plantation to plantation and free everybody. He was captured in the fire engine house, found guilty of treason, and hung. A later photo of a ferry. Here's some of the firearms that were produced here. Of course, there was a big fight for Harper's Ferry during the Civil War. And it changed hands 8 different times. And everything was pretty much ruined, burned, hit with cannonballs. Then Harper's Ferry later became a big site in the civil rights movement. Here's about where we are now in the little historic buildings, the recreations. Up here is about where my hotel is, the Town's Inn, and the shops today. And over here were all the manufacturing plants for the firearms. That train still comes through here, I can guarantee you. I had to wear earplugs last night. Harper's Ferry, as you can imagine, has also been devastated by floods many, many times. This is a little quieter place to view the river than that loud bridge from yesterday. Going back to the ghost tour from last night, I really enjoyed it. The guy did ask us, like I said, not to record any video, so fine. I didn't get any good video for you guys, but
The guy was really good. He does living history, and he's a musician and singer as well, so he incorporated some of that, and there was a lot of history that he put into his ghost stories. Woo! I was a little scared sleeping by myself last night, I have to tell you. Not really. Well, maybe a little. I was a little scared walking down the dark street. Up there is where Jefferson's rock sits. He said that this scene is worth a voyage across the Atlantic. I don't know. It's two rivers, I mean, it's nice, but that Jefferson was a smart guy. Guess what that did? All the Europeans started coming over here to tour. He was a master at marketing. These are some examples of the machines used to create muskets in the armory, and they created the three major components: the lock, the stock, and the barrel. And all of these machines were powered by water from the rivers. This is the building he pointed out yesterday as the most haunted in Harpers Ferry. This building right here at the top of the hill is called Harpers House, and it was built by Robert Harper and finished in 1782. Unfortunately, he died that year and didn't get to live in the house, but it is the oldest structure in all of Harpers Ferry. And it was a residence, a tavern, a rental building, and now it's a restored structure. House had a nice view, you gotta give it that. Weapons that were created at the armory area were stored in the these are the foundations of the two arsenal buildings. And John Brown had two of his men take over these buildings back in 1859. And in 1861, they were burned by the U.S. troops to keep all of the weapons out of the hands of the Confederates. They'd rather burn it. Your armory buildings are over there. And this is the recreated fire engine house where John Brown holed up. Now, I say recreated because this isn't where it originally stood. It was over there, kind of where that obelisk is right now, but lower down. That hill wasn't there at the time. But he holed up here, and this is where he had his last stand. And they finally wounded him, captured him, tried him, hung him. And it started a slave rebellion. And a few years later, the start of the Civil War. It's since been renamed from the fire engine house to John Brown's Fort. And here's an illustration of the capture. This right here is called the Point. It's the confluence of the Shenandoah River and the Potomac. Potomac. I'm not sure how you say that. Potomac. And then the Potomac continues. And this is the Harpers Ferry Gap, I think they call it. Very important in travel and commerce and transporting goods. Well, we're getting closer. Shall we make a stop over in Maryland real quick? Why not? The state line sign is, but maybe we'll run into it tomorrow. We're gonna turn around. What kind of bird nest do you think that is? Eagle? That's the only bird with a huge nest that I know of. There's a bird chirping up there, but I can't see what kind it is. What's it sound like to y'all? Oh, whoa, check it out. They moved that fort in one piece. I had no idea. I thought it had to be disassembled somehow. I just put that puppy on a truck and go. And here's a picture of John Brown's fort in its original location. And I'm gonna pan up to that today. Down here along the Potomac is where all the armory buildings were. They constructed all those guns and rifles. Oh, did I mention that Lewis from Lewis and Clark came here? He got some rifles. Or are they muskets? I don't know the proper term. He got some guns for their big exploration. From here, from the armory. Oysters and lunches. Here's a picture of what it looked like way back around 1890. It's the oldest tavern in town. All right, it's time.
Person's mind. As a young boy, John Brown saw many slave auctions. He witnessed families being torn apart, sold as though they were cattle.
John Brown's violent anti-slavery actions did not start with his raid on Harper's Ferry. 3 years before the Harpers Ferry raid, John Brown led a group of men in Kansas who unmercifully and cold-bloodedly murdered 3 slavery sympathizers. Here at the Kennedy farmhouse, John Brown prepares for his raid on Harper's Ferry. His plan was to steal guns from the United States arsenal located there. With these guns, John Brown planned to arm escaped slaves and help them set up a refuge in the Virginia mountains. Behind you is the Harpers Ferry train station the evening of the raid.
Yeah, wax museums aren't creepy or anything.
Early morning in Harper's Ferry, John Brown and his men rounded up some townspeople and held them hostage in the small Harper's Ferry engine house. The next day, federal troops under the command of Robert E. Lee arrived in the troubled town and surrounded the engine house. Brown would not surrender, and the decision was made to storm the building and take Brown and his men by force.
Oh. Jeez. There's a whole light show going on here.
12 Marines, led by Lieutenant Green, smashed their way in and simply overtook Brown and his men. Here, John Brown, himself injured by a saber slash, supports his dying son, Oliver.
Guess they ran out of money. They had to go to the third-rate wax guy. Oh my. I don't know if I want to push this button. What are we in for? Nothing? Oh, it's broken. All right, well, spoiler alert, he gets hanged. Well, what a disappointment. The grand finale wasn't working. Fried food, Hush Puppies fried food, and a salad because I'm trying to be healthy. the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, or B&O Railroad, had a tourist attraction, an amusement park on Island Park, which was still in Harpers Ferry, and this bandstand used to live there. It got moved here. It's the Harpers Ferry Bandstand, and they still have some community events here. Cute. I'm in the second building of the Town's Inn, and I'll show you my little room. Here's the common area upstairs. That's where I ate dinner, the rabbit hole. And here's my little room for tonight. This is the Shenandoah room. Cute.